Decoded, The Future of Health, hosted by Dr. Vinod Gauba and Alex Kummerman. Today's special guest is Marwan Abdulaziz Janahi, head of Dubai Knowledge Park and Dubai Academic City, discussing innovation in healthcare and biotechnology education in UAE.
It gives me great pleasure to introduce Marwan Abdulaziz Janahi, who is the leader of the Dubai Science Park, a pioneering innovation hub for science and technology, and also more recently, the head of Dubai Knowledge Park and also Dubai Academic City. Marwan is a thought leader in the region. He's also actually a pioneer and also trailblazer in the domain of science and technology and biotechnology. Thank you so much, Marwan. Please welcome.
Thank you. Great for having me. Thank you for having me.
Marwan, tell us a little bit about the passion and what's driven you to this role, which you're so pivotal in this ecosystem at this stage. Like, what's brought you here?
Right. I mean, talking about longevity is it's been really a personal journey for me. A few years ago, back in 2011, I had an episode of MS and basically double vision. I wasn't sure what was going on. But after a few diagnoses, it was confirmed that there were lesions in the brain. And that the course was that I basically take medication for the rest of my life as a chronic disease. And obviously, at that time, it was very shocking. And it wasn't something that I accepted. And I wanted to, look at other causes and how to manage the disease in a very preventative way. So met with many doctors, traveled a little bit to get other second opinions, and one of the doctors, many of them obviously said that I do need to take the medication because there could be another one coming, and that it's too risky if I don't do so. But one of the doctors said that because of the age limit that I am in at that time, this could be a one-off episode. However, you need to look at your nutrition, exercise, stress management, and sleep. So from that time, I was really drawn into the whole the other aspects of science that impact the human life and human longevity. And it was a big wake-up call for me, but I've learned a lot, and it has made my role a little bit more interesting because I take keen interest in companies. Why do they do things in a certain way? What's behind the R&D, and how they make a change in the human's life.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. In fact, I remember in your days at Dubai Healthcare City,
Yes.
when we worked together, we discussed this.
Correct.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Yes, it was actually during that time that I was in Healthcare City. I mean, obviously, I don't know what the real reason was, but, I think stress did play a role. But also at that time, I wasn't the healthiest. I wasn't really looking at my nutrition and exercise. But now that I do, alhamdulillah, I feel much better, and it never happened to me again.
It's probably us healthcare practitioners giving you a hard time in Healthcare City, huh? So apologies for any role we played.
No problem.
Thank you very much for sharing this very insightful and very personal story and approach. Maybe now we can deep dive into the conversation, and the role you're taking here. And can you share what drove? How do you drive UAE to become a global leader in biotech? How can you share on this more professional side now? Biotech longevity, and what are the advantages that the region offers for entrepreneurs, investors to establish themselves here?
Mm-hmm. That's a very big question, and I think
yes, indeed.
We'll spend the rest of the podcast
turning around
talking about it. I think we need to look at the core of what the UAE and especially Dubai does, and that is to be really a hub for people to come, exchange ideas, trade, exchange knowledge, and Dubai always reinvents itself. So from a small trading hub to a financial hub to a tourist attraction to a very important logistics hub, and now starting to be a healthcare tourist attraction, and also home for many startups and regional and multinationals, as regional hubs. So there is always this sense of recreating yourself and always looking at the future and saying, I want to be better next year, and what do I need to do to improve? And that's something that is embedded in the DNA of Dubai. And I think this is what really draws a lot of people, that we're really the city of the future. But if we look at the healthcare, biotechnology, and science, obviously all these special economic zones or free zones, if as we call them here, were an idea that was launched starting with Dubai Internet City, Dubai Media City, and Anticom Group obviously is behind this and has been really pivotal. And has been launching new projects to really enable the ecosystem. So from technology to media to education, and then later on in 2005 was with science, and I joined only 1 year after in 2006. So it's really I'm very proud to see the project now after 17 years almost. From really an idea on the piece of paper to what it is today. And if we look into the science aspect a little bit more closely, we worked about a few years on the strategy. How do we do it? Because a lot of clusters around the world, like Boston, San Diego, the Triangle in London, in the UK, it was all really based on from university to market. So from bench to market, right? Putting a lot of grant investment and grant money into scientists, into PhDs, and validating their ideas for it to come to the market. And then obviously the venture capital, etc. So that ecosystem, was not really there, 18 years ago. And we asked ourselves, how do we do that? Do we need to do exactly the same? Do we need to copy the rest, or do we do it in a way that works for Dubai? And that was the beginning of our implementation of the strategy, which we said, what, the region has a lot of healthcare needs. There are hospitals being built. There are a lot of chronic diseases to be taken care of. There are a lot of genetic diseases that are very prevalent in our region. Why don't we attract companies who have solutions, companies who have a product to solve a need? And that was really the beginning. So we kind of went the other way around. Instead of going from bench to market, we went from market to bench.
Interesting. And actually, I'll pick up on that to hopefully dispel a myth that I hear when I travel around the world and talk to the scientific community. When they hear that you're in Dubai and that you're innovating, they think, it's easy for you because your regulatory processes are more relaxed. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that we should address head on, because from our experiences when we're in the system, I feel it's quite the opposite. Right. I think we're so rigorous with our regulatory systems, but we have leadership that listens to our needs. Exactly. And adapts to our needs and effectively facilitates that journey. Yeah. To eventually deliver. So, please do comment on that. So,
no, absolutely. I mean, I think our regulations are really a combination of, the West and the East, and we try to adapt the best. And it is very, very rigorous, very, very strict. But I think the only difference is that if there is any regulations, stopping you from doing business, then everyone will listen to you and say, well, tell me, why do you want to do this? Or tell me, how would this idea or business would help the UAE or Dubai? And many years ago, I think it was probably 15 years ago, Boots, when it wanted to start in the UAE, there was a regulation saying that each pharmacist can own 2 pharmacies. And I think this was adopted by the French, where today it's still the fact that you don't see really chain pharmacies in some of the European countries, But Boots came and said, I want to open 100 pharmacies. And, they went to the decision makers and said, how can we do that? And, in a few months, the regulations was changed. And now you see a lot of chain pharmacies in the UAE.
So it is effectively listening to the needs of the ecosystem and responding. So trying to ensure regulation maintains certain standards, but yet is not prohibitive to growth and innovation.
Yes, absolutely. And one of the things that we were championing for a long time was actually the golden visa. Because, in innovation, especially in life sciences, it takes a very long time. On average, it takes 10 years. And we were advocating the fact that people cannot think long term if their residency or their visas is 2, 3, 4 years. They need to have that long term vision. And, luckily now with the golden visa, I think it has really put UAE and Dubai on the map, and people are looking at Dubai as a home.
Mm. So for you, do you see other examples of, let's say, key policy changes that have been impactful in fostering innovation? Mm-hmm. Golden Visa is one, but you as, being, let's say, instrumental in shaping Dubai's future industrial strategy, what are other examples that you can think of?
There are many examples. I think, if I speak of Dubai Science Park and also maybe perhaps Dubai Knowledge Park and Dubai Academic City, we go very deep into businesses and try to understand what is it that they need, whether it's facilities, specialized facilities. So in the case of Dubai Science Park, we have laboratories, light manufacturing units, offices, co-working space, and it has really given an entire spectrum of facilities for companies to start, no matter their size. Similarly, for higher education, we have been talking to universities and saying that talent is the most important thing for any company, and universities like yourself play an important role, whether you are into science, business, media, etc. So, and I'm happy to say that we have more than 35 universities and over 35,000 international students. And just last September, 40%, for the first time, 40% of the intake was international students, meaning people or students flying in to study in Dubai. So Dubai is becoming a massive, talent attraction. But that's not everything. You need to make sure that the banking system is right, the quality of life and, lifestyle, safety, obviously very important, schools for the families, healthcare facilities, I think there needs to be a holistic approach to attracting people and businesses.
And Marwan, do you find that, both of us having grown up in the UAE, we were always used to the culture of importing, if we wanted new products or if we wanted talent, often our natural drive was to look outside.
Yes.
And over the years, we've seen that starting to turn. Do you feel we've passed that inflection point now where we're actually now genuinely becoming an exporter of whether it's a novel therapeutic agent or innovative and talent? And can you share a practical experience of something like that would be inspiring?
Talent, I think I must say that we are getting there. We're very, very close. And you can see that with the ranking of universities that we have attracted. So Birmingham University, for example, is a top 50 university. That was a very big game changer for them to be in Dubai. And when you have such universities, they also attract top professors, and top professors usually churn out very good students. So it's the whole phenomenon that a university plays. And also not too long ago, the Dubai Future Foundation launched its grant system, meaning that it will start providing grants for university professors and PhD students. And this again is a big game changer because professors will have ideas, have innovations that they need to work on and validate. Because if they don't validate it, that investors will never want to invest in their ideas. In the past, because of the restriction on the grant system that we had in the UAE, a lot of those ideas were just published as publications. Now, what we want to see is that, we want those ideas to actually make a difference, come to the market, solve a problem, solve a solution. And, the way you do that is, pushing those ideas out of the university to the market and eventually for it to be manufactured and then, sent all over the world from Dubai. I was with the some friends from Emirates Airlines, talking about the logistics, the specialized logistics that Emirates has for pharmaceuticals called Sky Pharma. And they were telling me that majority of the Indian pharmaceutical products that are sent to the US, over 50% goes through the UAE. So more than 50%, that's a huge number. And if that's the case, then it means that from the UAE we can export to the world. So that's an advantage that Dubai and the UAE has that is massive.
And how close do you feel, Marwan, we are to putting ourselves on the map of being a genuine innovator and exporter of the novel therapeutic agent or the next molecule that might cure a chronic disease, especially talking about longevity and keeping that in mind?
Yes. So, all the, working on the manufacturing, the pharmaceutical manufacturing task force, the Dubai Industrial Plan, I work very closely with the manufacturers in the UAE. And although a lot of them, focus on generics, so nothing really novel there. However, it's the entire ecosystem that supports that. So I think now, with the grant system being stronger, you will see more innovations coming out from universities, and those will then hopefully be invested in by investors or VCs, and then hopefully being manufactured in the UAE. We've seen amazing examples both by Dubai and Abu Dhabi investing in companies, therapeutic life sciences companies. So there is massive appetite, and I think COVID played that role. It was an eye opener. So for many years I was talking about clinical trials, and nobody really listened to me because they didn't like the idea of clinical trials. They thought that people were being used in like rats, like animals. But in fact, COVID really positioned clinical trials as having access to innovation. So if at that time we wanted to have access to all the vaccines, the Chinese, the Russian, the American, and most of them were actually still global clinical trials. So the process of approval was changed overnight, and it was made much faster. So now we have an amazing infrastructure for clinical trials, right? So a lot of the components are there, but we're getting there. I can't give you a number, but I think we're almost there.
And I think it's that agility of being able to adapt the regulatory process, to adapt the systems and the infrastructure to meet the demand of the hour and the need of the hour. And I think this is where the ecosystem is excelling, right? And this is where it can set itself apart potentially from the other clusters.
Yes, absolutely.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
So I know we're wrapping up, but I just want to touch on a few key takeaways that those watching this can go away with in terms of how UAE can contribute to this global landscape of biotechnology, education, talent, and what potentially could be exciting for someone watching this to think, hey, maybe I should actually consider collaborating or partnering or doing a research project with the Dubai Science Park. So please do share.
Thank you. This is something we do on a daily basis, and in Dubai Science Park we have now over 500 companies, from very small companies, mid-sized companies, and the large ones. And I think it's important, to really look at the agility of Dubai and how it has made starting business so easy, whether you are, again, a startup or an established company. And there are so many opportunities. If you look at healthcare, digital health, medtech, prevention, AI. And I always tell people that, start in Dubai, make a successful case here, and then go to the region, whether it's GCC, Africa, MENA region. There is so many things happening. And if you do make it here, then you can make it anywhere. So, a lot of the enabling ecosystem and support that is available through the government agencies, through Dubai Science Park, with the events that we do, for example, like the DSP Leadership Network. We have done already a few events. This is, one of them as well, with the Geneva Longevity College. And we really like having, sparking conversations. And, those conversations are what excites people to learn more, to solve certain problems, and to collaborate. That's the beauty of bringing people together.
Yeah. So a home of collaboration.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Marwan.
Thank you.
Pleasure to
Dr.
have you.
Vinod. Thank you. Thanks.